I want to check this out here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people filed to run for City Commission C3, which Commissioner Matlow is vacating to run for mayor. And we're being joined by one of the candidates. This is our opening introduction of these candidates. We're being joined by Norm Roche, who is running for the C3. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us, and we're going to try to get everybody in this race, I think. First, welcome to, being a candidate. Why don't you take a minute and a half or so and just sort of give us a little bit of a bio so we know where you're coming from.
Well, I've had been very blessed to have a very diverse and, at the risk of sounding immodest, successful career. I never really set out to be a doctor or a lawyer or things of that nature. I've just had varying interests. So I would seek out that career and that employment, and then I would go back to school and hone my skills needed for that particular position. But I've had it from aviation to cable television to geotechnical engineering. I was a managing editor for a magazine and, of course, served as a county commissioner. And now my wife and I had been coming up here for decades. I've had family and friends up here. We called the Stay Bridge out there our second home. And we knew when my wife decided to retire from teaching, she was finished with teaching and finished with listening about me and reading about me in the newspaper. So we made our way here where we'd always planned to do. I've been here about a decade.
Oh, okay. Now, what is the family? You've got kids, I know. Yeah. I'm looking at your brochure here.
Yeah. 3 kids. Our oldest daughter lives just north of Atlanta, and she took after mom. She's teaching and has her own photography company. And
awesome.
Our middle daughter is here in Tallahassee. She secured her bachelor's and master's here at FSU and teaches now. She taught a little bit at FSU. Now she teaches here at Christ Classical, and took after mom, And our son is teaching and preaching. He's a pastor in a large church in Hattiesburg.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. And so you said you've been here for a decade. Have you been following local government, local politics since you've been here?
I have. This isn't the first time I thought about engaging.
Right.
I first thought about it back during the Scott Maddox debacle, and I was working with the city at the time. And there was talk about them wanting to have someone with some experience. And so I met with the mayor on that and talked to him about that. We had a little difference of opinion on how that position should be filled. I was more along following the protocol and just serve the seat. Let's let a new commissioner come in, leave the seat open. Let's get this cloud, away from the sky. And he felt a little differently, so that didn't work out. And then the second time was during the firefighter debacle, if you will, their agreement. And my nephew, TJ, is a firefighter at Station 1. And I said, I got a text, actually, from Commissioner Porter's campaign, asking if I was going to support her and so forth. And I responded, I'm not sure. I might actually jump in this race. So to her credit, I got a phone call from her and we had a good conversation on it. And I decided I don't really want to go against an incumbent again. I was successful at that before, but didn't want to do that. So I'll sit and let's see if the seat comes open. And then once Commissioner Matlow made it clear he was going to run for mayor, I was the first to file for him.
So a couple of things here. First, you said you have worked with the city. How long you worked with the city?
About 6 years.
Oh, so that's a pretty good bit of time.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us your sort of view of, first of all, the professionalism of the city, the operation of the city, pluses, minus, challenges that you
I worked with some great people there. I worked in the utilities department.
Okay.
I worked for 10 years with public utilities down in Pinellas County before I ran and served as commissioner there. So my life's come full circle in many ways, from aviation to utilities, and now public office to public office, or an attempt at public office again, let's say. But I had great interactions with a lot of the leadership there. I see that Mr. City Manager Goad is leaving. I think he's done a wonderful job there. He's been at the helm through some very, very tough times. And I wish him best of luck as he goes forward on his next chapter.
So when you were at the city, like you said, if it was the last 6 years, it was during tumultuous times with the FBI investigation, COVID, and then you've seen this progressive split on the city commission, but we can talk more about that later. As you were, here 10 years, what do you see is some of the challenges that, you probably start logging them in your file, as you move along? What do you see some of the major challenges here, both politically and just from a policy standpoint?
Sure. Yeah. I think from a city perspective, one of the biggest challenges is this growing divide now that we're having that's begun with the county And quite frankly, the county and the city are interconnected on many, many levels. And this battle, this ideological battle that's going on, these are nonpartisan seats. And I think it's due time we actually have a nonpartisan sitting in one. So that's one of the reasons I'm running. I'm a registered MPA, have been for over a decade. But I see a holdup on a desire to grow and move forward. So we've got this battle there. And frankly, we have to. We're not surrounded by pristine beaches or a wonderful little amusement park. We have to get focused on growing and moving our city forward. We are the capital city of the state of Florida, and we should be absolutely leading the path and growing in our city. And we can do so. I know there are concerns about it. We can do that and grow properly, and this is where the comprehensive plan comes in. I've had experience dealing with comprehensive plans, and we need to move forward with that. We can do it while protecting our oaks and our canopies and our character and our environment and our watershed and our hills. We can do all that.
So when you said the challenges, you talked about the divide between the county and the city.
Yeah.
And then you talked about the the partisan nature of things going on in the city. Those are two different issues in your mind.
They are.
Yeah. So let's talk city, county.
I think they're connected in some way.
Yeah,
obviously.
I guess. Yeah,
they are. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, so with the city and the county, the issues that we're seeing, a little bit of bickering just from, and they're basically are all Democrats. So it's not real partisan from that standpoint. But I guess the firefighters would be one of the big issues that we've had a divide between the city and the county.
Well, it is, and you have to work together on this, on all of these issues. It's not just the firefighters. You're talking about homelessness and affordable housing and economic development and so forth. I think I can be a catalyst, frankly. Having been a county commissioner, I understand their role, and I understand the city's role. And I think I can be a catalyst to bring that together to mend and strengthen that relationship and get us working together, because it behooves both of us. As the city grows, the county is going to grow. Utilities are going to grow. The needs are going to grow. And it's best that we work together as opposed to growing apart. So,
well, let me ask you this. I'm really intrigued with your time that you served as a county commissioner in Pinellas. I mean, that's a big county.
Yeah.
St. Petersburg, Clearwater.
24 separate cities.
That's crazy. And then Leon County's got one city.
Well, it was, Pinellas is roughly less than half the size of Leon and had 1 million people in it, as opposed to roughly 330,000 here. And 24 cities and 18 separate fire districts. So there was a lot of.
Give us an example. So how was fire safety provided there? Was there one service around the whole county, or did each city was responsible for their own fire department?
Yeah, 18 separate fire districts. Yeah, and of course 19 if you include the county's EMS.
Right.
And we had interlocal agreements and so forth to work together and service together and so forth. But I can tell you it becomes very costly. I penned an op-ed when all this here began to the local newspaper. And I was fully transparent. I'm a candidate and so forth, but I've been there. And I'm telling you, if you go down this divisive path, it's going to not serve us well, and it's going to cost you an awful lot of money. Now, they didn't print that, and that's fine, but I get it. So, but I sent that to both the city and the county commission and the city commission and the administrator and so forth, and the manager. And just saying, hey, slow your roll on this, guys. Let's come back to the table. It gets
expensive quick.
Yeah.
In the last minute and a half here in this segment, when you served on the county commission, did you have any challenges like we're seeing with the city commission now with this the lack of decorum and collegiality? Every position seems to be we're going to take the opposite out. How many people were on the county commission?
There's 7. There were 4 single member districts and
so a lot
3
like the
large.
county here then. Yeah. So did you have to deal with any of that?
No, not to that extent. I was fortunate to be elected in an at-large seat, representing the whole county, but we all are representing,
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of some of the things I got to do as an individual, but most proud of the things we did as a body. We were a collegial body, and there were some very real disagreements, but we didn't sling mud. We didn't attack each other on social medias or what have you. We talked, and we had civil discourse, and I had my mind changed at times, and I was able to change minds at times, and that's how you do it, by having a very civil way. And here's my thoughts and my ideas. And hey, let's take the golden nugget out of yours and the golden nugget out of yours, and let's create a policy that serves us all well.
But the point on that, though, is that it seems like that's sort of what's on your brochure here, is that you're focused on the city and not some broader goal or some other agenda.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you can certainly have feelings or positions on national issues or agendas. But when, as I write on my website and on my flyers that when you take a seat at the dais in City Hall, your focus should be on the city and the city only.
All right. We'll continue our discussion with City Commission candidate Norm Roche right after this break. All right. Welcome back to the Steve Stewart Show here on Real Talk 93.3. You know, this is the part of the job that I like, get to meet people that I haven't met before when they pony up and run for office. It takes a lot of courage to do that. Some are prepared, some aren't. Some are, it just comes natural. So we'll see what happens with these different candidates. We'll have a lot of opportunities to talk to people. But again, joined by Norm Roche, who is running for City Commission seat 3. And that is the seat that Commissioner Matlow is vacating to try to fulfill his mayoral dreams. And so anyway, we've covered the bio. Interesting. Like I said, I did not know this before you came in. I was reading your bio this morning. Very interesting that you've served on a county commission. I think that is, you can always compare things.
Sure.
So that's really good. All right. So let's talk on this show. One of the things I try to do for our listeners, our subscribers, our newspaper is people are busy. And I've run for office and we always think everybody is as interested in things as we are.
Yeah.
And the story is they're not.
You're right.
And so they've got their life to live. And so we try to narrow it down to a couple of major issues that people can read about positions on and then say, yeah, that's who I would vote for. And so public safety is, as you would know, being a county commissioner, is the highest priority of local government.
Absolutely. Anyone in elected office, it is your number one task.
Right. And so as a city commissioner, you've got the fire service and you've got hiring the police chief. The city commission doesn't do that. The police chief is hired by the city manager. But talk to me about your view of public safety, and then we can sort of drill down to maybe some specifics here within the city of Tallahassee.
Sure. Yeah. And like I said, it is your number one priority, no matter what level of elected office you are in, is public safety, period. And I'm quite frankly stunned at some of the approaches to it now from some elected officials all the way up, of course, through the federal government. It's staggering to me. Public safety is number one. I support our firefighters. Of course, half of my family on my mother's side were all firefighters. On my father's side, it was military. I sought to be a police officer myself years ago when I was much younger.
Right.
But it is our priority, and we need to give them the support. And quite frankly, we need to get off their backs. We need to stop villainizing them, and we need to give them the support and resources they need to do your job. Yeah.
And so let me ask you this. So one of the debates that we've had here recently is one of the city commissioners had talked about that hiring more police officers will not help with crime. Clearly, there's a law of diminishing returns, but have we reached that point yet?
No, I don't think we have, because you look at in terms of what, not hiring more? No, yeah. I think we should. We need to give them the resources they need to do their job. And part of law enforcement is deterrence and presence. Right. And the more you see, the more you have. The neighborhood that I live in, I'll see city of Tallahassee right through now and again, just they're moving around. And that just gives you that feeling that, hey, they're on the beat. They're watching out.
You have more police officers, you can do more deterrence.
Absolutely.
There's more visibility.
Absolutely. And you can step in times of need. We look at our hurricanes and our tornadoes and things, and everybody steps up as a first responder in that role. So I absolutely support them. I think it's fine. I don't understand why there's a big push right now and discussion over that the agreement, with well,
let's talk about that. You're talking about the 287G agreement, which is really, from a national perspective, you see more of this on the national news. Here locally, it's been pretty smooth in the sense of how that's been implemented. Yep. We're talking about the agreement with the sheriff and the city of Tallahassee to cooperate with federal officials. That obviously has become for progressives, or maybe for Democrats in general, I don't know, has become a hot button issue. And they want to vote on it every month and a half to see if they can get it overturned. What's your position on that and why?
We've had that question actually at a recent forum, a well-attended forum, quite frankly. And everyone, save for me, was on the line of doing away with that agreement. And I don't support that. I think we keep that agreement. Federal, and I had to bring that up during the forum, just to be clear, and a couple of base facts here is that the city commission and the mayor does not control federal immigration law. And this matter has come before the city already, and they voted on it and what have you. And quite frankly, Stephen, this may be controversial to some, but I'm stunned that any elected official would dictate not to support and have the backs of their fellow brothers and sisters in law enforcement. That's staggering to me. It really is.
Yeah,
so I would not at all vote to undo it. The very reason that we haven't had the chaos that happened in Minneapolis, the tragic deaths, indeed, of Miss Good and Mr. Preddy, the very reason is because we have that agreement and our local law enforcement is cooperating. They're coming in, they're getting it done. Why would we want to invite that chaos? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and it is confusing to me also. I mean, I've done some research on this. I mean, local law enforcement, when President Obama was in for 8 years, cooperated.
Sure.
And it was just nobody raised any question about it at that point.
No, and that's a very important point, because our current president, President Trump, is not the first to do this. Every president prior to him has deported millions upon millions of illegal immigrants. Matter of fact, I was a registered Democrat at the time when the Democrats were adamantly opposed to illegal immigration. So I think for a lot of people, it's not partisans, if you will. It's not so much about some deep-seated compassion for illegal immigrants as much as it's just a hatred for a man. And I get it. I don't like everything he does. I don't like everything the previous president or the ones before that do, But they are a president, and those laws are laws. Been on the books since any of us around has been, we're born. So I support it, and I would not vote to undo it. Let's let them do their job and cooperate, and have our law enforcement have the backs of their fellow brothers and sisters in law enforcement.
So pivoting to growth, you talked a little bit about this. I've done a lot of traveling around the country, and when people say that growth is out of control in Tallahassee, they need to travel to some places in Texas or Georgia. I mean, the way we do it here with infrastructure, and it's really a notch above a lot of different places. However, this is the debate. We get demonstrations when we try to put commercial properties on 6-lane highways. And so how do you bridge that gap? Is it people that have been here for a long time, they don't want to cut a tree down. I mean, you got to have some growth.
Yeah, and I was a county commissioner in Pinellas after the growth had already
hit there, yes.
And it was out of control. So there's a right way and a wrong way of doing it, and that's where the comprehensive plan comes in, and the cooperation between the city and the county on the comprehensive plan comes in. So right now, it seems, as I listen to the forums and listen to the various candidates for various seats, it seems to be a battle between we want infill, and the other side, we don't want any sprawl or any suburban
urban growth or extension of the urban services.
And they're not mutually exclusive. My daughter, quite frankly, my oldest daughter is a perfect example of that. She loved living in the city of Atlanta rather. Loved going downstairs to her favorite coffee shop here in Bistro. But when she got married and they decided to have children, where did they want? They wanted a house. They wanted a yard. They wanted to. Mm-hmm. So they're not mutually exclusive. You have to do it smartly, or I should say, the way I put it is intelligently, because it's deeper than smart growth. It's intelligent growth. But that's where you come in and you look at that comprehensive plan particularly. I look out at the airport corridor and think it's highly underutilized. We're now an international airport, right? Well, that's just a designation. You have to have a long enough runway, and you have to have a customs, and you can toss in, a
but you can build
store
around that now.
It's absolutely. And if you look at Tallahassee, my work with the city, and even now at Costco, you walk through there and you see how truly diverse our community is. We are ripe with our great universities and college here for that growth and an international perspective. But it's not just designating the airport. You have to build the economic structure around that to draw in the international.
So talking about economic structure, what was your take on the transfer or the move for an academic medical center with selling the hospital to FSU? The assets. When you were working for the city, did you actually do the city own the hospital assets?
Yeah, I did.
You did know that?
Yeah, I knew it. I've been watching and connecting and involved in attending the meetings and watching the meetings and so forth. I think there's a legitimate complaint that maybe it could have rolled out better. I get that. But I think you look beyond that. That's something that maybe you can tweak and fix, the process. The action itself, I think, is great for our city. Think about it. And it's almost like the golf course situation. What if suddenly the city commission said, hey, we want $250 million. We're going to expand the hospital. We're going to raise taxes and get that. People would go nuts. The same thing with the golf course. If the city, we want $30 million to redo the golf course, people would go nuts. Well, now you have this partnership with TMH an FSU that is going to do that, which is basically a finance job. That's all that it really is.
They have the leverage.
Yeah, and we're gonna finance this out, and then we're gonna throw somewhere in the area of $250 million into it, and then even over on the golf course, we've got a private entity coming and going, hey, we want to make a world-class golf course. Again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. What are we? What is the attraction here other than of course the state capital and the colleges? We need to think outside the box. I'm a person who takes the box, breaks it down, sticks it in the recycling bin. Let's open our minds up to any and all ideas.
Well, and the thing on the growth too, the city of Tallahassee, you referenced Pinellas County, and a lot of South Florida grew so fast because of tourism and retirees.
Yeah.
We are on, I mean, we're not that. We're starting to get more of that, but we're on this path where we could actually grow pretty responsibly.
Absolutely.
And, again, I think a lot of times when this talk of urban sprawl is just, it's out of context when you really look around at what's happened in some other parts of Florida.
I think you're absolutely right on there. And we are in a position to grow and sprawl, but it's taking these my way or the highway attitudes out of this and understanding that partisanship and political ideologies do not belong in these positions. And you have to work together. You have to work with the county. You have to work with the state, even going all the way up to the federal government. You have to work together.
Well, right,
to make this happen and happen properly.
Yeah, and the last thing is that there is very little. I mean, private property rights are pretty strong.
Absolutely.
And things are going to get built.
Sure.
And the city and the county, they don't have leverage over that within the state. I mean, they will sue.
Yeah, unless you want to go eminent domain route, and that's just a very costly and lengthy issue. You really don't want to go in. But I think again, if the operative word in comprehensive plan is plan.
Right. And
plans change. And there's nothing wrong with drawing it back and getting everybody on the same page on how do we do this intelligently? How do we do it such that it benefits everyone?
But it doesn't have to always be a campaign issue.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's your responsibility and it's your task and your job, and you need level-headed folks who have the experience to do that. And one of the reasons, of course, why I'm running and want folks to vote for me on this, and because I'm not interested in an ideology. I want to serve the city and our future, not the right, the left, the progressive, the whatever, everyone. And what we should be doing is developing policy and moving forward with agenda items and plans that benefit the whole of the city.
All right, that's Norm Roche running for City Commission seat 3. I'll give you his website in the next segment. But thanks for coming in, and hope we'll see you again before the election. Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Norm.